Yes, welcome everybody to this full day journey into the self, the personal self, the true personal being. So, yeah, we're going to look at, again, we're going to look at this Richard Schwartz way of working with people and himself, that we have all these parts inside. And each part is either some kind of protector or it's some kind of exiled being put in the basement, not allowed. And often the exiles are our delicate, sensitive, loving, playful, magical sides, which is a shame, of course. We lock away that which gives life magic and love, and we focus on surviving. So as we focus on surviving, we make survival our primary priority in life, then that's what we get. We get survival if we're lucky. And survival we can manage for 100 years, and then on the deathbed, finally we surrender, and then we have 4 hours of bliss, and then we die. So that's not a happy story, It's like living in survival mode and then surrendering a few hours or days before we die. So that's why in spiritual clubs, they say, die before you die. Then live as you will, all is good. So if we let ourselves die before we die, then this business of survival will not be running our life so strongly. Now, as we know, dying is not so attractive to us, Who wants to die? Sounds good, yeah, I'm die and then I'm reborn and I live in essence. Cool, let me die. But when you actually are dying, that whole story of what comes after is forgotten. And the only thing is dying. No fucking way am I gonna let that happen. So, as you approach dying, which means letting go, the closer you get to letting go, the bigger the fear. But that's really the practice. That's why I think of life as a school of surrender. It's a long school of surrender, learning to surrender. Everything teaches us to surrender if we listen. Of course, many people don't listen to that message because it is not what our survival parts want to hear. Our survival protectors, they want to protect. They don't want to surrender. They want the opposite of surrender. They want to protect. So you tell the protector part surrender, they say, well, fuck you too. Sorry for my language. But that's how the attitude, I use this language because that is really the attitude. It's real. School of surrender. And we get to practice every day. There's not a day when we can't practice surrender. It's not just the big things. It's like, oh, my house is empty of coffee and milk. Damn. How am I going to start my morning? I don't have my coffee, my cafe latte. It's a disaster, Perfect moment to practice surrender. Like, take a breath. Notice how my protector part wants a coffee because that's part of my survival mechanism. Okay, who am I without the coffee latte in the morning? Some nervousness. Some like hole opens up in my solar plexus. Okay, can I say yes to that? Surrender. So, lack of coffee. Or you say something to a friend, like something you're not happy about. Like you try to be very giraffe about it. You're coming from what you think is love and you say something that you're not happy about and you hope to be received with beautiful big giraffe ears. And then instead you're too sensitive, relax. Or, some kind of jackalish response, like not listening, not empathy, not understanding. And your wounded child is activated. Oh, my friend is just like my mother, doesn't listen. Then I'm super activated because my friend didn't listen with giraffe ears. My whole day is destroyed. And I'm walking around being really angry and depressed on this beautiful day for hours, maybe the whole day. How many know what I'm talking about at all? Okay. We know the story. So that moment, when you're triggered, that's the moment to surrender. Every moment is a moment to surrender, but especially when we're triggered. That really is like a big flashlight. Okay, practice, practice, practice. What was it again? It was to embrace my trigger. Must be a wounded child within, or else I wouldn't be so triggered by it. I'm a grown-up man, not dependent on my friend understanding me every time I say something. Must be a very wounded child inside. And then, I have these protector sides who have different we're not going to be friends anymore. What's the point? Oh, that's an interesting voice, over such a small thing. I'm going to abandon the friendship. That's this part's opinion. That's a very strong reaction to not being heard, in one expression. Or there's another voice say, well, fuck, doesn't matter, who cares? It's not so important. You don't need anybody. So that's the spiritual protector part, who's learned that you don't need anybody. You're fine, you can just relax and be. That's the holy one, the holy protect yourself. I'm so enlightened, I don't care. People are assholes. I'm better than them anyway. I'm so much more conscious. Poor people, they're so unconscious, can't even speak giraffe. So I noticed these parts. There's a wounded child. There's a couple of protectors coming in. Breathe. Surrender. What is surrender? Surrender is surrender to the present moment experience with consciousness. But somehow being in touch with some kind of center. There is some kind of center here that can see these parts. Maybe this center is just almost there, it's not clear, it's foggy. But just by having this awareness, okay, there is a wounded child, there are these protectors, and you walk with it for a while, and suddenly you realize, okay, I am not those triggered parts. I am something else. There is a center here. There is a me here. There is a self here who is not a part, who can embrace the parts, who can surrender to the experience of the moment. pleasant or not. Sensing my body, sensing my breath. And all these spiritual practices, mindfulness practices, conscious breathing, sensing my step, feeling my belly. They're all tricks and tools to be in touch with my true self. And then this true self has these 8 C's that Richard Schwartz talks about. It's a good way to remember what is the true self again. Well, it is those 8 C's. So let's hear the 8 C's. I want to hear one from each of you. I mean, not each of you, but from 8 of you. So can I hear one by one? Don't read the book. Take it from memory. Curiosity.
Creativity.
Creativity.
Compassion.
Compassion.
Calm.
Calm.
Connectedness.
Connectedness.
Clarity.
Clarity.
Courage.
Courage. Good. There's one more.
Stillness.
Stillness? That's not the C. It's the 8 C's.
Confidence.
Confidence. Exactly. So that's, for me, it's a great little trick that, I listened to a podcast with Richard Schwartz yesterday. He's a pragmatic guy, do what works. That's one thing I like about him. We have our principle, do what works. So the 8 C's, he said, well, I didn't include those other things because they didn't start with a C. So that's what he could think of that starts with a C. So it's not exactly, science. They're not complete. But if you have those 8 C's, you cover a lot of ground, right? And if you think about them, they're all essence qualities. So whatever is not that is not the self. Okay? How do you know if you're identified with a part or not? Well, are you in those 8 C's or some of them? Whatever is not that is a kind of a reactivity. The thinking part, the analyzing part, the planning part, the angry part, the judging part, the addicted part, the workaholic part, the withdrawing part, the procrastination part, the hurt part, the lonely part, the sad part, all of those things are part. So every difficult emotion belongs to a part. The self has no difficult emotions. And then you have a part that says, yeah, okay, I only want to be that. So that's a part again. The self doesn't have thoughts like that. Oh, I'm so great. I'm so much in essence. The true self would never say such a thing. So that's another part speaking. So the true self wouldn't say, I'm enlightened, That's I'm awakened. I'm so awakened. That's a part again. Thinking part. Labeling part. So you see the self. In a way, it's a somebody and a nobody. That's why I like Ram Dass teaching. He says, when we incarnate as humans, the first job is to become somebody. That takes 5 years. It's a lot of brain growth and emotional growth, and we have to learn language, and we have to learn how to go to the toilet and how to eat, put food, you know, not on the face, but in the mouth. Learn to walk, and learn to say yes and no. And so we learn to become somebody. So the first part of life is somebody training. And then we stop there, most people. But if you're interested in further growth, the next part is nobody training. So first you need to learn to be somebody, then you need to learn to be nobody. So we're all in this nobody training. That's part of the death process. That's difficult because it's dying. To become nobody after 20 years of working hard to become somebody, that feels like a big loss. You know? I worked so hard for it. Now you tell me to let it go. I just managed to become somebody. Maybe not 20 years, maybe 40 years, because also you have to work, make money, have a career, have a status in society, have parents who are proud of you, siblings who say, wow, you're cool, and drive a nice car, have a nice apartment, in a nice city, in a nice part of town, and look good, you know, wear nice clothes and shave well. So, you know, it takes 40 years to achieve full somebodyness. And then say, okay, now drop it. What? Drop it? Okay. Do you have some other approach? You know, that's. You know, that's why so many people, you know, they have a midlife crisis, they have a burnout, they have a health situation. And it turns into the biggest gift they can have because they have to drop it. Now, the last thing I want to say before we do some exercise is in the teaching of Almas, which I love, the nobody training leads to a new somebody. So it's a third stage. So you have the somebody training, 40 years of hard work, success to some degree. Then you have the nobody training, let's say 20 years. So by 60, maybe you're ready for the third stage, you know. Hopefully before, you know, you can speed it up. If you're lucky enough to have a burnout at 27, you know, you can speed it up, or your house burns down or something happens. Or you're just simply lucky you meet some really wise people who inspire you so much, or, you know, many things can happen. Anyway, so somebody training, nobody training. Oh shit. Can I let go my identity? Who are you? Without the story about yourself. You know, this inquiry we have all done. This is such a good inquiry. One of my favorite ones. It puts you straight into nobodiness. Yeah. Whoa. Nothing to hold on to, because everything I hold on to is a story. Like, ah. So you can't give this inquiry to just anybody, anytime, you know. Somebody has to be ready, because it's a highly threatening inquiry. But at the right moment, with the right people, it's like, bam. That's like proper nobody training. And then next step, you know, which I never get to teach enough because the two other steps are so big. That is a new somebody comes back. A miraculous somebody. And that miraculous somebody is called the pearl, the personal essence. Wow, I'm somebody. But this somebody is something completely beyond anything I knew about somebodyness. It's like, it's such an unfamiliar territory. And there is almost nothing in the world that mirrors that in a clear way. So to integrate that somebodyness of the personal essence, I don't think it's possible without mentorship, without teachers, without support. Because it's not something the world recognizes. Even spiritual teachings, because so many spiritual teachings, they come from the East. Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism. And these teachings, they focus on the impersonal being. You know, the Brahman, the shunyata, emptiness, spacious, complete peace. Nirvana, what does nirvana mean? Nirvana means extinction into nobodiness, and this nobodiness is total peace and blissfulness. But there's nobody there. That's the teaching we have now received. And since we don't have a tradition much of meditation in the West, there is such an hunger, you know, for this teaching. But something's missing, you know. And especially for us in the West, who are very individualistically oriented. So here comes a new teaching, fresh teaching for the Western person in the modern age, a teaching on the personal essence. You can be a true personal being, living an ordinary life with a job, with children, with hobbies, making money, going on holidays. And this is your spiritual practice, how to live as this personal essence, live my full potential as a spiritual person, a true personal being. So this, the internal family systems doesn't teach, because it stays on the surface about what the true self is. It has the 8 C's, but there's a lot more to say about the true self. So the personal essence is the realization of the potential of being a human being in the world. From being as a person, and yet not separate. So it's person beyond personality. It has nothing to do with our story. So that was the introduction for today's work. So feel that for a moment. Let's take a minute in silence and feel that whole story. It's like a story. Just feel the impact this teaching has on you in this moment. What's happening in your body right now? What's happening in your feelings right now? What's happening in your belly, your chest, your heart, solar plexus? Genitals, legs, head, arms. So what I gave you was a bit of like a map that I've learned over the years. So let's share a little bit. What's happening in you right now? Can you share on the chat just a sentence? So I see how this map lands in you right now. Expansion. I feel very expanded. Content. Calmness. clarity and alignment, calm and light, relaxing, understanding, happy light. I feel clarity and being seen, resonance, curious. I feel relaxed, curious, and also triggered. Not knowing space and aliveness, full belly, sadness, touch deep inside, peaceful and also confused. Inspired and curious. Stillness. Wow, what an impact, huh? A little teaching can have. A good map. A good map can have a strong impact. And it's not just a map, of course. It's also a certain transmission energy. I speak from inviting an experience. Calmness, and at the same time, desire to be this new person, likely driven by the ego wanting to evolve to something better and the attachment of that idea. Exactly. Sadness that society does not often mirror the pearl. Okay, thank you, everyone. One teaching about the pearl is the uniqueness of each of our expression in the world. That we each carry a unique expression and a unique contribution to the world, which will never be repeated. You know? This is the one chance the universe has to give this flower to the world. Cannot be repeated. You know. So, okay, we have some. Yeah, so the uniqueness and the unique potential of each of us. So when we start connecting with the pearl quality within, we realize I have like a unique calling, a unique gift that only I can give. And it has this unique expression that only I can offer. And nobody can replace me. So that's why, you know, for instance, me, I'm a teacher, you know, I've been a teacher for 20 years now, personal growth. And many times over the years, I've been thinking, oh, if I only was more like Swagito. Oh, if I only was more like Thich Nhat Hanh. Oh, if I only was more like Nukunu in this aspect. Or if I could be a little bit more like this guy, this teacher, or this one. Oh my God. Oh. And then based on those thoughts, it's like, why do all these people come to me when they could go to those other folks? You know, they're better than me. So we have this comparison. I'm not that great, you know, I'm just a guide, you know, trying to share something, but you know, the real thing is offered over there by Muji or by Adyashanti or by Almas or by God knows who. So anybody recognize these kind of thoughts in yourself? Okay, a couple. So I'm, you know, if you step into the leadership role or the teacher role or the coach role, those thoughts will come probably. Well, who am I? You know, I'm not that great, you know, to give, you know, and maybe even compare with me, but I'm not Kåre. And I compare myself to someone, oh, I'm not, you know, we're all negatively comparing ourselves to somebody else. So it's a good practice because, you know, over the years, slowly, the wisdom sinks in that, wait a minute, they come because I am teaching this, you know. It is my expression. If I was Adyashanti, they wouldn't get me. That's what I offer for those who are happy about that. And that's it. Take it or leave it. It's me you get. You know, you don't get Adyashanti. If you want to have Adyashanti, go to Adyashanti. Actually, he stopped teaching. So don't go to him. But this sinks in like there is nothing to compare. Each of us is incomparable. We offer our thing, and the people who are meant to receive that, they receive that unique thing. And that's great, you know, whatever it is. Doesn't matter if it's to 5 people or to 5 million people. And like Sadhguru, he's reached 500 million people now. He has this ambition to reach 5 billion people. Okay, good for you, brother. It's not my game. Okay, let's do an exercise.